Oh, my goodness. Can you believe we get to be live smack dab in the middle of March Madness? We've got Wrestling Madness all over the world. Welcome in to one of our 3 live shows here at BTT Studios. We call it the Coach and Bro Show. I am the coach, and we are live every single Monday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you miss any of the show, you can catch us on demand on our BTT YouTube page at any point. I can't do this show by myself. I got to do it with my best friend, one of my favorite human beings in all the world. And you can see he's ready for baseball, but he's ready for a verbal battle today. Vince Russo from russosbrand.com. Good afternoon, sir.
Coach, I got to tell you, talk about March Madness, you talk about Wrestling Madness. Bro, it is torture. Torture that they give us a taste of baseball. They give us a taste of 2 games. I was there at 4 a.m, man, ready to go. And then, Coach, you got to wait 8 days for the season, the most torturous 8 days for any baseball fan out there.
I could tell you were because you were texting me at 4 a.m. my time. Is anybody up? Coach, are you there? Coach, are you? Ding, ding, ding. And I was like, my man is up, fired up, and ready to go. But I agree with you. But they have to do it. And I got to tell you, Shohei, does anybody deliver more than that guy?
Oh, man.
A home run. I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome.
There aren't even words to describe him anymore, Coach. There's nothing you can say. I mean, he is a freak. He's just an absolute freak.
And I went to Tokyo several times when I was in the WWE, and they treated me like an A-lister. I can only imagine what it was like for him to go back there and get all that attention. I absolutely love Tokyo and Japan. All right, we got a lot of topics to get to in the next 40 to 50 minutes. If you're brand new to what we do, as I said, we're live. But Vince, if people want to be a part of our show, how can they do that?
Yeah, this is all you got to do, guys. We love having you as part of the conversation. All you got to do is do it through a super sticker or a donation, whether it's a comment or a question, and we will bring you right up on the screen. You can join in with us. Let's have some fun today, man. A lot of hot topics, Coach.
That's exactly right. Or you can also become a premium member, and we will read yours as well. We had 2 Hall of Fame members join the other day, our highest premium, because they want all the information. All right, so several topics to get to. We got to start, Vince. And last night, my goodness, this thing got a lot of, if they're looking for attention, then that's exactly. And you know me, I try to keep it here. I try not to be negative or too positive, just give my take. But last night, to watch Edge, who I traveled with for over a year back in the day, and Jon Moxley on regular free TV, have that match and then the suplex heard round the world. I've never seen in my career, Vince, a person be suplexed into a thing with nails on it that then stuck into the back that they couldn't get out, and the skin was twisting, and I saw maybe 10% of people said, man, I love this, and 90% like, what are we doing? Your take.
Coach, I'm going to be honest, the absolute worst thing I've ever seen in a wrestling ring. Now, Coach, you're talking to a man who saw many Abdullah the Butcher matches. Okay, we all know, from our era, what they look like. Coach, this was the absolute worst thing I've ever seen. I've probably been watching wrestling since I'm about 12 years old. The absolute worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
So as I was watching it, because you watch the whole thing, Edge gave him 2 or 3 shots with it before he put it down on the ground. I'm imagining, Vince, that when they went through it in their minds, it was, we suplex and he'll bounce off of it and it wouldn't stick in his back. But when it did, I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong. I can only imagine what his skin is like today. Is there going to be infection? It goes well beyond. And I thought, and there it is right there. Thank you, producer man. I thought of Balls Mahoney back in the day. Remember Balls Mahoney? Every time I would meet Balls Mahoney, who was an ECW guy, and he would do crazy stuff in front of 200 people. And I remember saying to him one time, I just went to like a local match to watch. I was like, Balls, why do you do this in front of 200 people, and his forehead is all scarred up, and he's like, that's what the people want. That's what I said, but you're not getting paid more than $100 for it. And to me last night, I guess that's my question, Vince. Why did they feel like they needed to go here on a Wednesday night on Dynamite?
Well, Coach, you listen, man. You probably didn't watch the entire thing, nor did I. I stopped watching AEW 4 years ago. I have not watched the show. But, Coach, here's the punchline. Everybody is looking at those pictures right there, okay? Here's the punchline. Bro, Moxley won the match.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, throw any shred whatsoever of believing anything you see in a wrestling ring, throw it out the window. Throw it out the window. For that guy to actually go over after something like that happening, bro, I'm not going to believe anything I ever see on that show again.
It almost feels like there needed to be an ad lib and make it a no contest in the thing, because they came out and they were trying to get it out in the middle. If you're bringing a doctor in.
No, Coach, that ain't a doctor. That was another wrestler. That was a wrestler trying to get it out. That was not a doctor, bro.
Oh my God.
That was Yuta. I think they call him Yuta. That was another wrestler, Coach, trying to pull it out.
I don't like to tell somebody how to do their matches or tell how somebody, but I don't know how anybody could think that was good last night. If you want kids who are buying all your stuff and they go, oh, why do you got to go back to the kids? Because kids watch wrestling. They're a big part of it. Parents buy their kids stuff. And if I would not want my teenage kids to see that last night, let alone a 9-year-old little Johnny or little Judy. Oh, man.
And, Coach, there's a whole other level to this that nobody brings up. We bring that up here. We bring that up here. Because,
always.
Coach, you and I, man, nobody understands business like we do.
That's right.
Bro, can you imagine the TBS and the TNT executives watching that? Can you imagine them watching that, them being smartened up to that? Bro, what do you think? They were at home popping? They were at home going out of their mind. Coach, I swear, I remember, man, when I was writing for WCW, there were these 3 overweight women called the Rosati sisters. And Bobby Heenan put them on the map, okay? And they were like huge WWE marks. Well, I used them over at WCW one time, and the punchline was they walk into a building. There were 3 sisters, very large, and Roddy Piper starts rattling off fat jokes. Okay, that was the gimmick. Okay. So Sanders and Practices came up to me and said, Vince, you can't do that because there's going to be a fat person watching the show that's going to be offended. Bro, fast forward 25 years later. Are you kidding me? Bro, you know that light board is lighting up. Those executives watching that's Coach, if not for anything else, that is horrible business on Tony Khan's end.
Yeah, it's a brand new TV deal. We know we're less than 6 months in. And sometimes being a great leader means owning when you make a mistake and owning when maybe you shouldn't have done something. And in your mind and how it looks on paper are 2 completely different things. That's why I'll end it right here. We got a lot of other topics to get to. And again, even if this would have happened, it wouldn't have been okay. But I don't think that they thought it would stick in his back. I really do not. And that took it from a 2 to a 10 really, really fast. Because then the focus was on that. Because we've seen we've seen thumbtacks and stuff like that. But those were like spikes. Yeah. And wow. All right, we'll see what the fallout is from that. And also think about this as we try to educate you on somebody who's the greatest writer in the history of the business. I wonder how much Moxley will sell this in the shows to come, because you got to sell it. And you shouldn't be wrestling for at least 3 or 4 weeks, because how do you take a body slam? How do you take any of that in a reality-based show?
And coach, you know what was really, maybe even more disturbing than that? Guys, you got to understand, Coach and I, and you watching this show, we've all seen thousands of wrestling matches, okay? Guys, you have to understand, Moxley was not selling. Two things were going on. The dude was in absolute pain and he was scared. Can you imagine, bro, when you cannot get that out of your back? He's got a wife. I think he's got a kid. You could see the look on his face. Now I'm scared. Coach, if you're putting yourself in a position in a fake wrestling match or a determined wrestling match, if you're putting yourself in a position where you're doing something and now you're scared, you're scared for your health and your livelihood, something is definitely wrong, Coach.
That takes it to a whole nother level. He's married to Renee, who used to be in the WWE. They absolutely have a child. Yep. And now Renee does backstage interviews for AEW as well. So it'll be interesting to see the fallout from this. But I think universally that Tony has to recognize that's just being a good leader, that you don't do that again. All right, that's topic number one. You're watching the Coach and Bro Show. If you want your voice to be heard all over the world, we have people watching literally in countries all over the world. You can do that through a super sticker or become a premium member right here at BTT. All right, now Monday night, you and I have not spoken since the heel promo heard round the world. And the one thing I love about me and you is we can disagree and still stay friends, and it leaves at the door. Most people can't do that. Yeah. I saw a lot of your content this week. You did not like the Cena promo. I did like it, but I want now that we're together and you've had kind of 3 days to marinate on it, and now we're starting to look forward to next Monday where Cena's supposed to be there. How do you spin it forward after what we saw last Monday between him and Cody Rhodes?
Yeah, well, I do want to say a couple of things. I mean, first of all, Coach, we use this all the time in wrestling. I don't know if this is really used out in the real world as much as it is in the business. Making chicken salad out of chicken shit. Okay?
I love that saying.
Yeah, and without a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion, that's what Cena did. Cena is an absolute pro. And Coach, here's my analysis of it. Bro, this was a last-minute call. They realized, man, Gunther and Jey Uso, this is WrestleMania. This really isn't a big draw. We need something. There's nobody else on that card, and this is the fault of the company. Nobody else on that card who can headline a WrestleMania. So what are we going to do? We're going to go back to the proverbial well, and we're going to bring out Cena, and we're going to bring out Rock. So that's why they needed a main event. They needed a main event, so they booked this match. I got no problem with it. I love the heel turn. I love what they did at the Elimination Chamber. I said it all. But the problem was, Coach, and I've said this all the time, the difference between writers and bookers. Bookers take the match first. What's going to be a great match? Then we'll try to make sense out of a story. Writers take the story first. These two guys could have a great story, and then that will turn into a match. So now they've got their main event, Coach, but the reality of the situation is it doesn't make any sense. Cena already got his title shot by winning the Elimination Chamber. Cena has all the money in the world, everything he could possibly want. He's a movie star. So what can The Rock possibly give Cena that Cena can't do without The Rock? So there's so many holes in this thing. None of it has really been explained. On top of everything, Cena doesn't even mention Rock. And Coach, I swear, you and I know the political battlefield, backstages.
Yes.
Coach, when Cena didn't mention Rock, the first thought in my mind was, bro, has Rock pulled himself out of this story? Because the fact that Cena is not connecting, I want your soul, and why he needed to make a deal with The Rock, There were just so many things to me, Coach, that didn't make sense, and I think that's because it doesn't make sense. That's my pick, my view.
And I always completely respect it because not everybody's going to agree. I will push back a little bit.
Go ahead.
I'll start with this. I thought that, and maybe it's because I traveled with him and I understand what he went through all of those years. And there was a time where Cena was the guy. I mean, we're talking 30 days in a row on the road. And to be a really good heel, you turn the narrative upside down from the baby face to the heel. I thought he did a really good job. I will agree with you that the not having The Rock involved takes a lot of it out for me, because if I'm John Cena, what I would do, and I would make sure and say this the next couple of weeks, is say, listen, and you got to do this creatively. That's why I would need somebody like you, is I want to ensure and make sure that no matter what, I've got something in my back pocket to make sure I get number 17. I would be as selfish as I could be verbally and how I acted to make sure that I beat the record by Ric Flair. And having The Rock in charge, having The Rock set the table against Cody Rhodes. Remember a couple of years ago when Cody was climbing the mountain, you make it difficult. That's where I would go. That would be the one thing I would agree with you. If you incorporate The Rock, be like, yeah, I was on the phone with The Rock today. We were talking about, then he doesn't necessarily have to be there because we know he's doing his movie thing. That's the part, though, the negative part that I see is these guys are doing their movies. They're moving heaven and earth for Cena to be there because he's shooting his movie overseas. How much money, Vince, did they invest in doing 3 premium Raw events to make sure Cena could make it there physically? I would say a lot. And the other part of this was, and you nailed this, this is not an English-speaking crowd. So Cody Rhodes, when he came out, it was like, what, 2 minutes? Maybe 90 seconds? Because they knew the crowd wouldn't understand everything that he was saying. And that was a little bit of a disconnect. But you have to admit, though, Vince, the crowd was red freaking hot.
Yeah, a couple of things. I want to address somebody in the chat, and I'm not going to mention you by name because it's not a super sticker or it's not a donation. But somebody in the chat actually said that's the story, but Russo doesn't get it. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. If Russo doesn't get it, then a lot of other people don't get it. And Coach, I shouldn't have to try to figure it out.
It should be clear. It should be clear.
Exactly what you just said. You need to tell me what the story is. You need to explain that to me. I am not going to fill in the blanks because you're a poor storyteller. So as a television viewer, I shouldn't sit there having to try to figure this thing out. You should tell me exactly what's going on. But Coach, perhaps the worst thing of the entire segment was, are we forgetting that the last time Cody Rhodes was in a ring with John Cena, he got kicked directly in the freaking Spaldings? Cena beat the crap out of him. They bloodied him. They put blood on the belt. Travis Scott smacked the crap out of him, bro. And Cody's comeback is, you're a whiny bitch? Coach, here's the test with me all the time. WWAD. What would Austin do? If they would have left Austin in a pile at the Elimination Chamber, what would Steve Austin have done the first time he saw John Cena?
He would have ran out, slid into the ring, and jumped on top of him.
Bro, he probably would have did that in a parking lot before the show even started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, that's why I'm telling you, bro, they know what they're doing there. Hunter knows what he's doing. Pritchard knows what they're doing. They know what they're doing. When freaking Cody Rhodes doesn't physically, power up and come back and lay John Cena out, you are hurting Cody Rhodes. This guy.
Let me jump in real quick because Jimmy Fingers agrees with you. We have a super sticker, and he actually agrees with you, Vince. Says, I like Cena's promo until he started reciting Willy Wonka's lines from his promo on Charlie. He did not explain his reasons for turning, fell flat for me, and Cody's response was way too passive.
Yeah.
He agrees with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, Coach, these are professional wrestlers. They're not normal people. Coach, if you're in a bar, a guy comes up to you and kicks you in the balls. You go to the bar the next night. The guy's there. You can have a conversation.
We're not talking. We're
yeah,
not talking.
You're not talking. And Cody is a wrestler. He's a wrestler. Come on, guys.
I cannot dispute any of that. I cannot. This is a red hot topic. And also the other thing that I think that Triple H and the writing team needs to remember, but they get stuck in this bubble when you're traveling over. I don't even think Triple H went. I don't think so. He was tweeting all the time. He normally doesn't tweet if he's there. But how do I say this? When you're stuck in the bubble, and I was in that bubble for so long, you feel like there's nothing else going on. Like I remember most of the time we didn't know March Madness was going on. It's the biggest thing in the world. That I think they forget that not everybody was watching the Elimination Chamber. And so when it's trending and you get 500 million views, then the next time that Cena's on and you're promoting it, there's going to be a lot of new people that are tuning in. So whether it's a package, or I would much rather hear from Cena, you've got to kind of retell that story. And don't tell me you don't have time. They took over 30 minutes for that particular segment. So they had time to do it all. I will agree on that. I liked how he did it. I thought it was a masterclass in delivering a promo, but holes in the story 100%. And Vince, if they're going to continue to allow that star power that they need for these big events, it's going to be a fall off the cliff because we know Rock's not going to be around in May. We know Cena is, but man, it's difficult when these guys have other things they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
And then they don't show up. Can you imagine if Rock would have been there Monday night?
Yeah.
How different that would have been?
Well, Coach, here's the thing I don't understand, too, is when, Cody does the mic drop, then Cena doesn't say anything. So Cena's standing there with his hand on his you-know-what. When Cody does the mic drop and turns around, bro, that's when The Rock needs to come up on the Titantron.
Yes.
This is the part I don't that's a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer. But, Coach, did you hear why Triple H was not on the show?
No, I did not hear. No.
You didn't hear? Coach, you're supposed to be on top of things. Coach,
my bad. I didn't hear.
Coach, people are always accusing you when you're not here and whatnot. They're always accusing you of you're on the golf course. And I'm saying, no, Coach is working. You didn't hear this, Coach?
I was traveling on Monday.
Coach,
I watched it live from the Phoenix airport on Monday Night Raw.
Triple H was not at the show because he was inducting himself in the New Hampshire Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Did you not get that memo?
You're kidding. Is this a joke?
It's a joke, Coach.
Oh, I was like, you serious? Stop. I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Real quick, have I ever told you, speaking of New Hampshire, have I ever told you the story about, and I'll make it very quick, but it's hilarious. When you remember he was in Blade 3? Remember he wanted to be a movie star like Rock. And this is part of the problem with Triple H and The Rock. Triple H has always wanted to be The Rock. I don't care what he says. He wanted to be a movie star. And Vince, he was in Blade 3. So they had the event, the opening in Toronto. All right. So Vince wanted me to go and host the red carpet. My flight got canceled because it was too windy at LaGuardia. So as I'm going home, I get a call. Hey, Coach, Stephanie's in a limo going to White Plains. You can hop on the private jet, fly up there, and still make it. Oh, fantastic. Sitting in a limo with Stephanie by myself for 25 minutes.
Great.
Oh, God. You talk about awkward. So I get into the limo, and she calls him Paul. We all call him Hunter or Triple H or Trips or whatever. So that was a disconnect to start with. But I'll never forget, imagine Linda McMahon's face. We get to the private jet, and on the jet is Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, myself, Shane McMahon, his wife. Okay? Mm-hmm. So which one of those doesn't match the other? Your boy. Yeah. Your boy. So we're, and it was the first jet. It was the 4 seats, then the couches in the back. I've got a whole couch kind of to myself. Vince, we take off. I kid you not, 10 minutes later, we're already starting to descend. And I'm like, are we in Toronto already? And in a private jet, it's probably an hour and a half flight normally. So I'm like, well, this is weird. And Stephanie looks at me and she goes, oh, Coach, no, we're stopping to pick up Triple H's parents. in New Hampshire on the way to Toronto, and Paul is already in Toronto doing press. It gets better. So we land at the little airport in New Hampshire. You don't even know what's coming. You don't even know what's coming.
Before you tell me what's coming, I want to hope, Coach, you're faking that you're asleep so you don't have to have any conversations with any of these people.
That's a different night, different story. I've done that on the jet. I've done that on the jet. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I digress.
So I don't know if you've ever met Triple H's parents.
No.
Maybe the nicest people that God has ever created.
Right.
And by this point, they're in their mid-70s.
Who's got the honker? The mother or the father?
The dad.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I mean, you see them together, you're like, yep, that's my son.
Okay.
So they climb onto the plane. None of us are getting off. So they climb onto the plane. And I kid you not, his little mother, sweetest as pie, she gets on and she looks at Stephanie and goes, Stephanie, thank you so much for sending us a limousine. But that really wasn't necessary. And Stephanie looks at her and goes, and I quote, well, if you're going to have a movie star son, you need to be treated like movie star parents. She then says back to Stephanie, yes, I get that. But we just live right there. You can see their house from the airport. She sent a limousine to take them about 1,000 feet onto the. I kid you not. So Linda, who I adore, and I know you do too, Linda rolls her eyes. We're like, did we just spend $500 to drive two people half a block to get on this private jet? That's a true story. I don't think I've ever told that before. That's a true story.
Tremendous.
Can you believe that? Oh, my goodness. By the way, real quick, because I love that story, we used to go to all the press conferences back in the day. Remember, we used to promote the pay-per-views? Mm-hmm. So I would fly after Raw with Vince and Triple H, and we'd go to like Kansas City or somewhere. So you mentioned falling asleep. For people who don't know, you couldn't sleep on Vince's jet unless he slept. Right. But he never slept. That was the only way that he could drink. He would drink his red wine. So I'm in the back. There's only four of us. And somehow, Vince, I had the corner of my eye open. Okay? And there's 4 bucket seats. Vince always had his right here. So I'm sitting kind of behind Vince. And Triple H is diagonally, okay? He eats a banana. And even Triple H wanted to get Vince's approval. So I see out of the corner of my eye, and I'm dozing off. This is after Monday Night Raw, middle of the night, flying to Kansas City. And I see Triple H like getting Vince's attention, going, oh, watch this. I kid you not, 1 in a million. He takes his banana peel. He winds up like he's a pitcher, and he throws it as hard as he can right at my face. Vince, I kid you not, all my kids, this happened. And I caught it.
Yeah,
I caught it.
Ninja style, bro.
I did. It was just like this. I got it.
Yes.
It was awesome. And it could never happen again. But, and then, of course, that was Triple H's idea. That's what I meant. What I meant. I meant for you to catch it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I thought you could have put my eye out with the stem of the banana peel. But I'll be honest with you, those were the fun times. Those are the nights that I remember and I love.
Yeah.
You know, those, and that nobody else gets those memories. So
that's awesome.
Man. So didn't mean to get off track. I apologize.
Great stories, man. Great stories, man.
All right, we got to move on. Another story from Monday night that Vince McMahon his head would have popped off. Vince, when we go to international cities, they had never been to Brussels before. And clearly Brussels knew the chants because they were doing, we love Cena. And everybody, somebody said to me, well, Coach, they understood English because I said, guys, I could learn chants in another language.
Right.
But when you come to listening to a conversation, out comes Seth Rollins. And the crowd was pretty dead other than singing his song. Vince, as a writer, would you ever have written a promo to promote I'm going to chase down Roman Reigns and CM Punk? Not here. Friday night in Italy instead. Yeah. What did you think the crowd was going to do?
They do that all the time, man. They do that all the time. And, man, we were always cognizant of that, Coach, where we never, ever did that. Because, like, you know, they're there. They paid money to be there. and now you're going to promote something they want to see someplace else. You never, ever, ever do that. And they do that all the time, Coach, all the time.
That's why I think it would have been so important to have Rock at least on the screen, because you have to think about the show as a TV show and not always as a live event. And the crowd, just to see him, I understand probably why they didn't do it, because they're like, well, we don't want to show him. Then they boo because he doesn't come out in person. But you're broadcasting to 90% of the world now on Netflix. It's not about those 13,000 that are in the arena that you're worried about. You're worried about the 90% taking the storyline ahead. So when you promote Vince to Roman Reigns, arguably your biggest star right now, the crowd clearly was not having it. CM Punk, you could argue right now, he's the most over of anybody in the company, and he's not there either. Why do you think they didn't have either one of those guys at Raw?
Coach, they did this about a week prior with I think it was SmackDown, and I think it was the Paul Heyman promo plugging Reigns was going to be at Madison Square Garden. And the people booed. Coach, I have to tell you something, and I'm gonna push back on you a little bit.
Okay.
Coach, we were learned day one, and you never had to tell us again. Okay, and you know this better than anybody as a performer. You're not performing to the people in the arena. Mm-hmm. You're performing to that camera and the millions and millions of people. Coach, I don't think they teach that anymore, because they're all playing to that crowd. And what's happening, Coach, is as a television viewer, that's how it's coming across to me.
Right.
It's coming across to me like, man, the people there are having a great time, but quite frankly, I'm bored out of my skull. That's how it's coming across to me at home.
I thought that when Cena stopped to when the crowd was really, really loud and he was like, yeah, let me hear you. Yeah. That would have been a way for me to say, shut up, I'm not going to listen to you, whatever. That part I agree with. And I remember when you're cutting a promo, when I used to cut a promo in the ring, I always would ask for a handheld to come into the ring, so that, and that's only rare do they do this, because then you can't cut to the overhead shot because you see the guy in the ring. Right. But if it's really, really serious, hey, this is what I would do, and maybe I think I'm really smart. I know that I learned from you. I'd be like, hey, get my camera in the ring. First and foremost, I would start directing if I was Johnson. Get my camera in the ring. Then, now you can still show your wide shot, because he called the camera in the ring. Production did not. That's a big difference. So now all of a sudden, he's looking into the camera, and he's cutting a promo to the world and not just to Cody Rhodes. And now that completely changes when you're right here. Remember, CM Punk did that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And it was very, very, very effective, I felt like.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach. I mean, everything on television is coming across as a house show. And I don't know, bro, is the mentality that, those fans and that crowd is their bread and butter? Like, I got the feeling, Coach, like, honestly, this whole show was booked this way. Here's how the whole show was booked.
Okay.
We know we're in Brussels. We know we're going to have a red hot crowd. It doesn't matter what we put out there. The crowd is going to be red hot. Bro, that's the way they booked the show. Bro, send Rollins out there. It doesn't matter what he says. They're going to sing his song for 10 minutes. Everybody's going to be happy. He's going to be the conductor. That's how they book these overseas shows. They're going to be so happy to be there. It's going to be a rabid crowd. Doesn't matter what you give them.
Back when I was there, I'm telling you right now that if you're a full-time performer, and I kind of give Roman Reigns a pass, I'll be honest with you, because when you have cancer and you've got to watch your health, I give him a pass. I really, really do. But CM Punk is full-time. Yeah. CM Punk is there every single show. So I don't even know why. And the other part is that during my prime, so to speak, you had two tours. You had SmackDown 10 days and then Raw 10 days, and that's what led to the flight from hell that I was on, that we almost all died. And But they don't even have that excuse. They're not doing 25 house shows in 3 weeks over there. So if you're CM Punk, he's not a Raw guy. To me, the most important thing right now is TV, tell the story, get me to WrestleMania. So the fact that they didn't book CM Punk, you don't book CM Punk a week after you're in a cage match and he beat you just because, Roman Reigns held him. I would have brought CM Punk out and been like, listen, why are you bitching? Why are you complaining? I just lost to you because you needed help from your old buddy.
Yeah.
And not even give him credit. But if you're not there in person, that's where I would not have done a video.
Yeah. Coach, I talked about it at the top of the show. We just had the 2-game international series in Japan. Who did the Dodgers start those 2 days? Not Blake Snell, not Tyler Glasnow. Who'd they start, Coach?
They're Japanese pitchers.
There you go. Period.
I think it's as simple as read the room. Read the room. There's and I said that's part of the reason I thought Io Sky became a champion, because you got to book it's a worldwide company now, and you're playing to the world. It's interesting, but I bring up Vince, and Monday it was very, very interesting because the week after Madison Square Garden, guess who was in Madison Square Garden in the front row with his lady friend on his left, his son and grandson on his right. And Vince, I think I had a very, very weird revelation. I don't like cancel culture at all. And you and I have discussed privately and publicly our feelings on Vince McMahon. And not only was he given front row tickets, which means the Knicks don't give a damn, but the broadcast showed him and put his name on the screen. So it tells me the more time that goes by, there's a lot of people, and this is also the same day that Conor McGregor, who's had his own issues the last few months, he's at the freaking White House with Donald Trump. So maybe I am overthinking how much the world has canceled Vince McMahon right now. Do you agree or do you disagree with that sentiment?
Yeah, Coach, I got a couple of things. First of all, here's the only thing the number one thing I was thinking of is,
what's that?
Coach, this is the same game where Tracy Morgan threw up all over himself. Can you imagine if Tracy Morgan was sitting next to Vince and got some of his vomit on Vince's shoes?
Oh my God!
Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
How would that not have been the greatest thing in the history of television?
Of all time. Here's number two. I want to say a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to say this for all my negative fans out there who love to say how negative Vince is all the time. I'm going to say this first. Bro, I thought he looked great. He did.
I thought he looked great. I mean, bro, if he's doing any cosmetic, he looked great. He got rid of the ridiculous mustache. Yep. His face looked good. He had highlights in his hair. Coach, I think here's what may be starting to happen. We saw him at the Super Bowl. We talked about that.
Yep.
Bro, he's kind of dipping that toe in the water now. You know what I mean? Like, how often can I get out there? What is the response going to be? Am I going to be accepted? If I am, can I go to that next step? I kind of think that's what's going on right now, Coach.
Premium member Jeezy Keezy says, and WWE let Drake sit in the front row at EC. Also, Vince was at the Super Bowl as well. Jeezy Keezy, thank you for being a premium member. Thank you for your take. Vince, not only do I think you're right, I 1,000% agree with you. You and I know Vince maybe as well as anybody, certainly professionally, has ever known him. I spent more time with him in those 3 to 6 years than anybody. There's no way he wants to go out on the bench. There's no way he wants to go out with that being the narrative of who he is or what he is. You know this. I will not reveal the person, the content of it, but you know the story. And I was contacted 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, and had a discussion that because Shane wants to get back in the game. That 100% is fact because it went through me. And so I don't need to check my facts. I don't need to check my sources, Vince. I am the source.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to tell you who I talked to. But if a person was kind of representing Shane is upset or maybe jealous. I don't know what the word is because Stephanie has her new show with ESPN Plus, and he's been the only one that's outside of the game. I was told during that first phone conversation, hey, he's not hanging out with Dad. He doesn't have anything to do with him. And that was right before the Super Bowl. So now not only was Shane at the Super Bowl with him and The Undertaker, I might add, but also he's sitting with his grandson and Shane at the Knicks game, which tells me, as I put 2 and 2 together to equal 5, that not only is he dipping his toe in the water, but he's not stupid either, Vince. And if he's going to invest some of these billions that he cashed in for when he sold his stock, it'd be much smarter to do it through Shane, who everybody likes, as opposed to him trying to walk in to meetings and saying, let's start a new company. Let's start a new wrestling company, and I'll be the face. He knows he can't do that. But he could be behind the scenes an angel investor, and Shane could be the face, and that completely changes the game.
And also, Coach, I am convinced he has a PR team that's coaching all this. All right, man, we did the Super Bowl. Let's go to the Knick game. Not a bad look to have your son and your grandson with you. People will see that you are a father. Here's the interesting thing, Coach, because, again, we go to the next level here. Okay?
Yes, always.
You said his name came up on the screen. You would think Vince McMahon, former owner of WWE. No. Vince McMahon, former wrestling promoter. That's odd. So wherever the game, was that an ESPN game, Coach?
That was actually a local MSG game.
Because I'm just curious. Somebody had to smarten them up and tell them, do not lower third WWE. Because you would Coach, would you not automatically do that? Former owner of WWE.
That would be the first thing I thought of. And most of them don't know, they don't pay attention to what happens in the world of wrestling. They probably wouldn't even have known unless they were told. Yes.
But former wrestling promoter, that was very interesting.
It's all very interesting.
It is.
And I know there's a lot of people out there that have strong comments because Monday night we were on the Stadium Network, Amazon, DirecTV, our big Monday night show that you always cut a promo for that I appreciate so much. But as we were talking about it, I asked Tommy this question, and I'm going to ask you. So Tommy said it was an ESPN game. Normally they don't have it on my. So Tommy says he's watching right now. It was an ESPN game.
He
said
go.
Because I was watching it, so it was an ESPN game.
They were definitely smartened up to do not identify him with WWE.
100%. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a small detail, important but not a huge deal. So I asked Tommy the same question, and as he was giving me his answer, I kind of leaned in towards his take on it and his mindset. I'm going to ask you the same thing. You and I have worked for several different places, big places, top of the food chain. If Shane called you and said, Vince, can we have a conversation? You've been very open on this show, very open with us. I feel the same way. Shane is an amazing human being. I don't know if he's the best leader because Vince never allowed him to really run a whole lot at the highest level, but he's likable, and we all like him and respect him. If he was the face of a new venture, would you take that call?
Oh, without a doubt, I would have the conversation. Absolutely. Out of respect for Shane and the way he treated me for so many years, absolutely, I would have the conversation. Yep.
I 100% would too.
Yeah.
Because Shane was one of the guys that helped train me. I had good, so I've been very transparent. Chris Benoit was one of the guys that trained me the most, and we know tragically what happened with him. But Shane, when I would be in town in Stanford, he would come down and roll around with me with Dr. Tom Pritchard, and that's how I learned to bump and learn to work because I didn't have the ability to go away for 6 months and go to a wrestling school like Ohio Valley, learn how to work, and then come back on my TV job. I had to do it on the fly.
Right.
So Shane was one of those. So I became very close to him through that. And then when he came back when I was at ESPN, I sat down for an interview when he came back and wrestled The Undertaker. And remember he came out and had the 3 boys? And I was like, why are you coming back? It's been years. And that was always the other thing, Vince, that was very strange to me is that he would leave and come back, And can you imagine if Tony Khan's dad was running AEW over the course of 30 years? Would Tony leave and come back? It was always a very strange thing to me that it got so strained that he felt the need to leave, then to come back. And so if this was the case moving forward, how would that dynamic work? And what are the questions that we would ask him if he said, hey, guys, I want you, Vince, I want you, Coach, I want you. We're going to have Kevin Dunn in the truck. Ooh, wait a second. Tommy, I want you running everything. I mean, it would need to be a big time check for me. I'll tell you that much right freaking now. It would have to be but there's a lot of dynamics that go into this that would go into it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, man, because bro, think about this. It's not a easy spot to be in, because if you've got a parent, bro, especially a wrestling promoter that, is not liked by a lot of people, but you are universally liked, that says a lot about you. Because, Coach, like I used to know firsthand, like Jeff Jarrett used to get a lot of Jerry Jarrett heat. That's why Austin had a issue with Jeff Jarrett, because of the way Jerry Jarrett paid him when he worked with him. So that's always going to trickle down. Man, that never trickled down to Shane. Everybody likes Shane.
It's so funny you mentioned the payouts, because at the different regionals, it's pretty well known. And in the WWE, JR was in charge of all the payouts. It was pretty widely known that there was imagine this if you're watching at home. This is kind of how it worked. Not exactly, but Vince, I'm pretty accurate here. There's a talent pool. Say it's $300,000 that goes to the talent from what the show made. JR could literally sit down, and he loved The Undertaker. And so Undertaker would always get paid the most, even if he wasn't in that main event. Because the main event, even WrestleMania. So imagine like sitting down and going, okay, 150 to you, 150 to you. I know for a fact a talent that I used to travel with wrestled another talent. And you're not supposed to talk about your paychecks. Yeah. They wrestled each other on a pay-per-view. And the guy that he wrestled made $30,000 more than this talent did. And they wrestled each other.
Yeah.
That is very, very, very. I don't want to use a shady, because I don't think JR is shady. It's just there was no rhyme or reason to how guys got paid. And with the downside guarantee, the other part to educate the audience is, if you've seen a lot of videos lately, Vince, where Rock, I just saw Stone Cold in a video talking about his downside, and Kurt Angle talking about the downside. And Vince's number, he would never go over that $1 million. That was like his number. And I saw Rock in a dated interview too. Downside guarantee, guys, that's the minimum that a talent can make during the year. They keep track of payouts for every single house show, every single TV, every single pay-per-view. And if it's $900,000, you get a check for $100,000 at the end of the year. If it's over $1 million, you're good. It's kind of like an NFL contract. And so, Vince, that downside guarantee is the most important thing. And Rock, Austin, and then Brock Lesnar down the line, they kept raising the bar on those downsides, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
So speaking of Austin, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. I love this show today. I never know where the show's going to go.
Yeah, great conversation, Coach.
Great conversation. Speaking of Stone Cold Steve Austin, we're getting about a month away from WrestleMania. It's going to be on the 19th and 20th in Las Vegas. Two names going different directions. Stone Cold last year, Vince, and I don't know the number, but we've talked about it. He was supposed to be in the Undertaker spot at WrestleMania. He didn't show up. Undertaker did. Obviously got a bonus. Taker's going to be in Vegas doing his one-man show. Stone Cold did an interview, and now he's been confirmed for an autograph show in Vegas the weekend of WrestleMania. Clearly, it's going to be sold out. Clearly, all the tickets will go. But my question, Vince, is will he be in town and in the arena for WrestleMania to be a part of the Cody-Cena situation?
Coach, I think they're throwing out there that he is. Wanting it to be a surprise, but he is, because Austin has done a couple of things out of character, okay? And we all know Austin is a businessman first and foremost. Bro, he's old school. It's about the money, period. And that's the way business should be freaking conducted, man. It's all about dollars and cents and money. So I was a little taken back about when Austin sat down and did an interview after the Rock thing. And then Austin said, yeah, sure, if they want to call me, if Cody wants to call me, if he needs me in his corner. Bro, Austin would never, ever do that unless a deal was made. He would have said nothing about it, been completely quiet about it, and waited to see if they contacted him. And then on top of that, they doubled down with this fan fest. So what I'm saying is I think it's already a done deal based on what he said, but they want it to be somewhat of a surprise.
So, and I think this is important. Eamon said if Stone Cold shows up, Cody's winning. Think about this, Vince. And this is how you and I think. The obvious storyline would be, yes, he shows up to help Cody win. But what about this? As Rock is building this group, he's got Travis Scott, who apparently Booker T is training back home. Okay. You got John Cena, 16-time champion. Stone Cold, who's made more money than anybody in the history of the business. What if he came and he was on Rock's team?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? He comes down, the crowd thinks he's doing a babyface save, and all of a sudden he pulls a heel move and somehow screws Cody over, and that allows John Cena to beat the ultimate babyface. And now you got Rock, Stone Cold, Cena standing in the middle of the ring. Cena's the new champ. Would that not blow up the internet?
Yeah. Coach, you know what that reminds me of when you said that? I'll never forget this. When Vince was bringing in Mike Tyson, right? We had our first creative meeting of how we were going to use Tyson. And it was the first time everybody was talking about Tyson. And, you know, I was there and Vince was there. Bruce may have been there. Kevin may have been there. But it was a pretty big deal because remember, Tyson was not allowed on pay-per-view at the time, the whole 9 yards. So now Vince's whole thing was part of Vince's strategy and part of the Vince pitch to Tyson was Tyson had a lot of heat on him at this point because he just bit off Holyfield's ear.
Holyfield's ear, that's right.
So there was a lot of negativity. Part of Vince's pitch was, this is how we're going to turn you back babyface. We're going to do this for your image. You're going to come aboard and, you're going to be likable again. You're going to be with Austin, yada, yada, yada. So we're having these conversations and everybody's just assuming that Austin's a babyface. And as they're talking, I say, guys, can I just explain something to you? If you're assuming that Tyson's coming in as a babyface, so is everybody else. You got to go the other way. You got to have him rip off that shirt and expose DX. And Vince was like, yeah, Vince, but part of the deal is, his image. And I said, Vince, you do that in the match. I said, you could do that at WrestleMania. You could do that at the end of the match where he's had enough with the shenanigans of DX and he's going to help Austin. But everyone's assuming he's going to be a baby face. That's what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see Tyson and Austin. But can you imagine if Austin is on the other side?
Wow.
And that's what we did. And that's exactly what you're talking about, Coach. And that would be awesome.
It would be awesome. If WrestleMania ended that way.
I agree.
And then you could potentially have, because Stone Cold's not doing a lot right now, you could have him show up on the shows because TKO needs to understand there is no substitute for star power. Yeah. And Cena's going to go back to do his. He is advertised for May 10th for a show somewhere on May 10th. But then after that, who knows? And Vince, I don't want to think about 4 months in the summer, especially doing this show every twice a week, where we don't have any of these stars and we're just like writing shows and throwing them out there. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, sure. The only thing is, Coach, that is a brilliant idea on your part. However, you are missing the other side of this. So
what would that be?
So we've got Cena, we've got Rock, we've got Austin. Okay. And then we got what? Cody and Sami Zayn. Who else? R.D. McDonough? Coach, who could you possibly throw in there to even up those odds? Think about it.
And I think that's a great place to put a pin in it. This is the only place that not only you get these discussions, but you get two guys that were actually in the freaking room with these guys. That's why stop reading headlines, stop reading dirt sheets, and come here every single Monday and Thursday. That's going to do it. For those of you watching on our YouTube channel right now live, we're going to be live in about 5 minutes with our live betting show. March Madness is off and running. We never stop here at our YouTube channel. We just keep churning out content for all of you. So for my man, Vince Russo from russosbrand.com, producer man behind the scenes, I am the coach. We'll see you on Monday live, 1 p.m. Eastern time. There's only one. It's the Coach and Bro Show. Take care.